So, so how can you compare, how you were raised? What, did you guys individually come from like a two-parent home or maybe just a single parent home? And either or can, go.
Yeah, so I was raised in a very dysfunctional home. My mother and father both abused drugs, and from the age of 8 to 15, I saw, my father beat my mom and also justify it. Like, your mom is acting crazy, so I got to smack her. Like, he would say things like that. We moved a lot, so always disruptions. And I ended up going into foster care. So I was in foster care at age 15. And when I went into foster care, it actually is one of the best things that ever happened to me because I had a chance to see something else. Now, it's kind of traumatic that foster care is better than being with your family.
Parents, yeah, it's crazy.
But that's how bad it was for me. And I actually never thought about it like that.
Yes.
But that was my upbringing. So I didn't know how to nurture. I didn't know how to love. My mother, the last time I had like love and affection was when I was 3 years old. And as I've gone through counseling now and over the years, like that's when the last time I was really nurtured. And dramatically, my mom had an overdose and passed away. So my last memories of her was trying to save our relationship. And I couldn't because her health had failed. My father's still alive and we have a good relationship now, but it's not, he's older. He's never really learned how to be a father. So I learned all of my fatherhood from coaches,
and on the
my friends' dads, my girlfriend's dads, like anybody who wanted to impart in my life, that was my daddy. Like the whole rich dad, poor dad story, I had that in real life because I chose to, I was like, I'm going to learn how to be better from somebody. So that was my upbringing.
My upbringing, it was also dysfunctional, but in a different way. My father was very active in my life from the time I was born until 12, and he was incarcerated when I was 12. So, and when you think about it, 12 to 18, those are those real formidable years for us as young women, young girls, because we're learning who to date. No, baby, that's not the right guy today. No, baby, he look a little shady. Let daddy talk to you. And I didn't have that. I had uncles, I had brothers, but I didn't have my father, And so when my father, when he was incarcerated, that just kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And so it changed that love and affection that you would get from a man. I needed it. I didn't have it. I was looking for it in all the wrong places. I needed what I wasn't getting and what I knew my father could give me. He tried his best from prison to still love on me as his daughter and tell me how beautiful I was, but I couldn't get that daily. And so I turned into being raised just by my mother and, her family trying to step in and kind of help raise me. But again, it just wasn't the same. So my upbringing, like I said, was dysfunctional, but it was just in a different way. You had a lot of people trying to fill in the gap of my father. And it's like, but you're not my father.
And another thing to add to that, that's actually what brought us together.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also speaks to how important the role of a father is, especially in his daughter's life. Because now that I'm good and grown with 3 kids of my own, a husband, we've been married 15 years, and we're doing this parenting thing, I tell him all the time, and when I talk to other friends, I say it doesn't really matter how old you get, right? If you know your father's alive and you don't have that relationship with him, there's this hole in your heart, in your life that you're looking to fill because you want it filled by your father. So it's so important for men to be active, be present, be consistent in their children's life because trust and believe, whether they say it or not, they need their father. And ironically, it took my father's my brother's father passing for my father to step back into my life and kind of realize what he had been missing and, you know, not being active, and just us having an amazing conversation that I have been waiting on for
Long time.
15 years.
As long as you've been married.
As long as we've been married. Since he's been out of prison, I've been waiting for this conversation. And it took something as tragic as death for him to realize, wow, I've wasted a lot of time with my daughter. I'm thankful, better late than never, right? But it took a long time. It took a long time.
And I think one of the things we were doing a course, a parenting course, and no one would sign up for it, right? And we always have this assumption, oh, I know how to parent, you know, I got it, I'm good. And the thing about it, and the reason why I brought up that that's how we came together, we didn't know how broken we were when we got together. We thought that there were things we had in common, but really it was our brokenness that was on display. And so as we started to learn each other and we started having children, it started to come back out, and all of the bad things came back out. You know, all of the wrong ways to parent. And you may say, well, what's the wrong way to parent? Well, one is I was an overcompensator. So all of the things that I didn't get in my childhood, I was trying to give to my children, right? And we also raised my sister, and she exposed a lot of bad things,
a lot of weaknesses
between us.
Yeah.
Like that whole divide and conquer, she was like king of it.
Yeah, I think she wrote the play.
Because she knew that I was going to be the justifier and she was going to be the judge, jury, and executioner. So it was like,
which honestly is how it played out all the time, because it's like, do you see what's happening here? Yeah, I see it, but you know, I gotta,
So I was trying to say, I would justify by saying, I'm trying to save my mother's legacy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I heard that
I'm
a
trying
lot.
to.
I heard it a lot.
I'm the only. If I don't step in, then
she's my mother's only daughter.
My mother's only daughter. Like I would. Nobody ever told me this. I came up with this completely on my own. Because in your mind, you're trying to justify what you're doing.
It was like I couldn't save my mom, so this is my way of paying homage to what I couldn't do for her. I'm gonna do it in another way.
Right. So I never.
All the while creating chaos and turmoil and yeah.
It almost destroyed our marriage. So fast forward to training and learning how to parent. We're able to do things now with our kids that is kind of on autopilot because we've changed how we show up in their life. Like number one is we both understand now the importance of getting healing from our past. You know, one of the things I talk to dads about is going back to your childhood and writing to your younger self. Write a letter to your younger self.
Very therapeutic.
Because a lot of people were bullied. A lot of people have low self-esteem.
And not just from outside the house.
Yeah, for
bullied
real.
by other family members who weren't, you know, you and your sibling have different fathers. Maybe your father's not active, but your sibling's father is. That creates a scenario for bullying. So it's not just
we grew up in Detroit. It's very materialistic. So if you didn't have a certain level of lifestyle, you felt like you were a nobody. I mean, literally,
treated like
you would go to
nobody.
school and you see guys with new shoes on. And I told my wife, the funny thing is, as an adult, I would go and buy expensive shoes only to say, this is what I couldn't do in my childhood. So that's how deep these broken places can be in our life and how many of us have never really worked on it. And then you start having kids. And your kids need the best you that you can give. So one of the things that we do is we educate dads. We push education because you have to grow in how you think about parenting. We don't get into like, oh, you should sit down with your kids every night and read a book, because we get it. We don't do that every night
at all.
But what you should do is consciously say, I need to be involved in their life. So we try to work on frameworks. Like, here's a framework. You can make it look as pretty as you want or as detailed as you want, but have some type of plan that is like, hey, this is me and my child. This is what we do. You know, it could be going to get ice cream. It could be a sports event. It could be whatever, you know, but it needs to be something, because you got to start healing, because if we're going to change our generations moving forward, which I certainly believe that we can. We have enough information. We're way better than our grandparents and our parents. Like, we have the resources.
We have things at our fingertips.
I
Literally.
mean, we can Google
Which our kids
anything
do all
now.
the time. Google.
You know.
Tell me whatever.
Yeah.
I can feel like, because both of you explained like father situations that were bad and then became good. How do you feel like that shaped your decisions and the decisions you made earlier on? Like,
Oh, as a woman, my decision making was horrible. Yeah, it was bad because I didn't have my father to help guide me. My mom was she's amazing. Okay, my mom was an amazing mom. She did everything she could. But
she
there were
was
just,
limited.
but she was limited, and she's a woman, right? So she tried. My mother's approach was, if it's not too far left, okay, we can go with it. If it's not too far left. And so she allowed me to date, and she allowed me to do those different things and go out by myself, and and as a young girl, I didn't have my father to say, okay, baby, but when you go out, make sure he opens the door. Don't do this, don't do that. I didn't have that. So I was kind of looking at my brother and his friends and making decisions based on, oh, okay, I know what this looked like because I've seen my brother's friends and how they are and things like that. So my decision making was off the cuff with a lot of stuff, especially as it pertained to men. It wasn't until I got saved that my lens or my view started to change in terms of what I was looking for. My grandfather is even to this day, and he's 92, a very present figure in my life, but they were very, 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 very saved. And when I wasn't saved and living that lifestyle, it was like, oh God, here he go again with Jesus. Wow, And so I really wasn't paying attention or letting what he was saying permeate and really get into me because I was
Right.
a young girl wanting to do my own thing. It wasn't coming from my father, if I'm being honest, because had my father said it, it would have been totally different. But
Well, one of the things that when we think about fathers that's important is validation. If you're not validated, you will get it from somewhere else. Gangs, sports teams, the streets, a church, whatever it is, you will look for validation because you don't know who you are, right? And you look to your father to tell you who you are. And one of the things that's also clear that in our life, we need three fathers. You need your heavenly father, you need a spiritual father, and you need your natural father. If you have all three, you are doing amazing. But if you have at least one, you are doing above board because the Father is so powerful that one can encompass three. Because if your natural father is there, he can show you who God is by how he acts. So one of the things that we do with men in society is we try to steal their identity from them because we don't want men to know who they are. And that's why our organization is so important, because we're trying to say, hey, man, this is who you are. This is who you need to be in your child's life. You're not just the guy that comes through the door and sits on the couch and watches TV. Your presence alone is so important. And so I didn't have a natural father, so I replaced my natural father with all my spiritual fathers.
he got saved relatively early.
Yeah, I got saved early because I was like, what else do I got to lose? God came into my
his
life.
gang was Jesus.
Yeah, I got saved at 12 and was serious. Like with the glasses sitting on the bed, I prayed every night. I used to be like, God, forgive me because I didn't pray last night.
Meanwhile, I was 12 on AOL.
Yeah, I was exposed to God early, but I just learned you need that validation. It's interesting in the Bible that God says, this is my son whom I'm well pleased. He opens up the heavens. He stops the times, the natural time of earth to make sure that the world knows this is my son. And when a father does that to a child, it's like the heavens open up. Like, oh my gosh, my dad is proud of me. Like, I'm doing it now with my 2-year-old. She don't even know I'm validating her at 2 now because I'm like, I'm proud of you. She don't know that's what I'm doing is validating her, but one day it'll start to make sense to her. And she won't have to worry about going out there and looking for the wrong validation.
One of the things that, because he said that he didn't receive affection
Right.
growing up, and because of that, he didn't really know how to love on our girls. And because we have girls, it was, our parenting journey is a little interesting because I know what I lacked from not having my father present. He didn't know how to be a father initially because he didn't get the affection. So you have me like, well, I didn't have this, and this, and my girls are going to have it, trying to talk to a man who can't comprehend that because he didn't have it, and he doesn't know what that looks like. He don't even know how to do it. And so now one of the things that we do in our home is every week he buys me fresh flowers. And it's to teach our girls. It's not just for me because I was buying them for myself initially because I wanted our girls to see this is what it looks like to be loved and to be appreciated, right? So when a young joker come around with some flowers, they'll be like, boy, my daddy been giving me flowers since I was
I don't
five.
think these guys giving flowers these days,
But you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm
don't do
saying?
that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So my thing was, honey, I want them to see a man loving on his wife, loving on them, bringing flowers, not just to me, but to our home, presenting our house with flowers, so that they can understand that this is another form of love. But again, if I had my father at 10 and 11 bringing flowers, when a young man bought me flowers, I would have been like, boy, my daddy been buying me flowers for years, so yeah.
So tell me, how does all of that translate into what you started as your organization? Everything that you guys have went through, not just as a couple individually, how that became 21st Century Fatherhood.
You know what's funny is it actually started in a gym. I was lifting weights, and I realized that when you have people cheering you on, it typically drives you to want to lift things that you normally can't lift. And from that,
that was good. Yeah, I like that.
From that, I said, if I became a cheerleader for fathers, could it inspire them to want to do something that they didn't think that they could do, right? And that's where it all came from. And so from that, I said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life promoting fatherhood.
That's dope.
And it's in 3 phases. Number 1 is I didn't want to be the type of father that just showed up on social media. I wanted to actually be a real father to my children. So the best investment I could be to, an example I could be to any of my brothers, any of my friends, is to be in my children's life, not to be with the homeboys. So I had to make a sacrifice. So that became like, how do I be a dad to these kids? And God is funny. He gave me girls. He didn't give me any boys.
Oh, girls.
And for a man with boys, it's a little easier because some things are kind of naturally in place. I had to learn everything. Like I'm still trying to figure out these girls, right? So he gave me girls because like, oh, you said you wanted to be a real dad. So let me hook you up, right? He gave me twins, and then he gave me a 2-year-old who's like super busy.
She's the twins.
Right.
Just in one person.
And then the next piece was, I got all these guys that I know, like, I need to connect with them on this level. Like, I need to connect with them and be a messenger, like to be an ambassador for dads. And then 3, it was, I work in the prisons. I go into prisons, I talk to guys. I'm actually looking to, once we come out of the pandemic, go back into the prisons. And I felt like these are really good guys that just made some terrible mistakes in their life. So I wanted to make sure that we were impacting our community. And that was my way of saying, look, this is my mission. This is a goal for me. It's like, I'm going to be a dad till the day I die. My children will never have to worry about me not being in their life. And so out of my own brokenness, which it's amazing how God uses your brokenness later in your life, when you allow him to fill you up, that you learn what your real value is. And I just believe every man should have a legacy and a journey that he goes on with his children, because it's not like a father, man. So that's how the organization came about, 21st Century Fatherhood.
I'm touched. I'm really touched.
I was hearing stuff for the first time too. That's why I'm like, come on.
You don't think you ever asked me?
That's dope.
I think she just assumed like, okay, this dude gonna do something with dads.
That was dope.
Yeah.
In
it
the
really
gym and
touched me.
they lip.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
And it touched me because my father's in the home. He's been present. But because he struggled with alcoholism and
Right.
gambling and other issues, that strained our relationship. And it was something that you said that you waited all those years to have that conversation with your father. My father has other like learning disabilities, other issues like that too. And so the thing about waiting for that conversation, I feel like he's still here, I still have access, but I'm still waiting
For that
on that
conversation.
conversation. And especially since I experienced some molestation when I was like 13, he would always say, I knew this was going on, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but nobody ever said anything
Right.
or fought for me.
Right.
And I feel like when you, like you said, your father was incarcerated or, with the drug issues, you have you have something that you're fighting for, but it's not me. And so it's not resentment, but it's just, I still want to hear that. I still want to know that. And I'm grateful for my husband because he's been, other men who I've experienced use that vulnerability of me as manipulation, and he uses it to build me, not further break me down.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Can I share something with you, Jessica? I hear the Lord saying that you have hid your gift of singing from your father. And that gift, if you allow the Lord to work through you using that gift, it will reconnect you with him.
Please don't start crying. I'm gonna start crying. Oh my God.
Because you do have a beautiful voice. Like you hide it sometimes. That's why I asked you, you still singing, because I remember when you started doing some solos at the church. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like she needs to be up here a lot.
Take the mic
Like you
over
have a
there.
naturally gifted voice. And I just think about David and Saul, like when he played the harp, the music, what it did. Like it was the anointing coming through that music. And your voice is music. Like some people can't hold a note. Some people can sing certain songs. Like you can sing. And you probably have held that gift protected because of some of the other things you have been going through. But if you will let the Lord use you through that, like just start singing around him. Like just start, like, cause you're a joyful person too, right? Like you got that silly, like me. Like I love to have a good time laughing, right? And it's partly some of that pain coming through that laughing.
Absolutely.
Like it's like most people don't understand. Like people who are joyful, they learn how to use what they've been through and they laugh through it, right? So I just think that you should really use your gift. I mean, write songs. I mean, you got it. I mean, that I just feel like that will open up a new door, because she had to open up a new door. Because I used to challenge her, like, you are, if you don't let yourself heal, you're always going to treat other people a certain way from what you experienced with the person that hurt you. Like she couldn't love me as well as she does now because of the brokenness she had with her father. Like when our kids were born, like she flipped. It was like, because she was so afraid that I would be like what she went through. And it was like, you gotta let me be me. Like I'm not him, and he's not me.
We went through this.
So
not with kids, but just.
Yeah. So I just when you were talking, I was like, man, I could just see that. I could just see your voice being so much of a. I wish I could sing, because I was singing all the time.
Yeah.
But for people who can, that really can sing, it's therapeutic. Like I just believe that you should pray about that, because I can see a relationship flourishing out of that.
I really appreciate that. I'm just not gonna say anything because it's I feel like now my father was a medical strategic decisions that, you know, it can be really hard. And, you know, I still have that daddy's girl, like, feeling inside of me, but at the same time, I have to be stern and make hard decisions.
Right.
And so I'm, like, battling the little girl in me who wants to be just like, oh, daddy, daddy, daddy. I'm like, but still be strong and like have to make those hard decisions for her. So like it kind of it does make me quiet. It does make me like reserved and pull back and be like, that's okay. Let me just I'd rather be Energizer Bunny, go and bypass my feelings. But the moment I sit down, honey, hit me like a ton of bricks. I'll be a ball of tears. Like, you all right? You all right?
I've had those. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've had those moments where, when I say sobbing, balled up, sobbing, and he's gotten so good now to where he just comes and he just coddles me, because it's like one of those. It's once you get it out, it's like, okay, I just need to get it out, right? And it's therapeutic. It's necessary. Allow yourself. My thought is allow yourself to feel for at least 24 hours, whatever it is that you feel. Feel it for 20. People be like, oh, get over it. No, feel it, sit in it, marinate in it. 24 hours. Once that 24-hour period has hit, it's time to move on to what's next. But it's therapeutic. I've had a number of those where it's just like, but it wasn't until I started to treat my father good, regardless of how he treated me, because my father still I see him at that point. I was seeing him often because I go see my grandparents. I was flying up to see them once every 6 months because they're older, and he lives with them to try to, you know, help them out. So it got to a point where when I would go, he would go into his room and he wouldn't come out. And so I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? Hey, Dad, you want to go out for coffee? Hey, Dad, let's go to dinner. Even though he wasn't receptive necessarily, it was awkward. It was weird because I felt like I was forcing it. I just kept doing it. Come on, let's go to dinner. Let's go grab some Starbucks. Let's go do this. And that started planting those seeds, those little seeds. And I would start getting a few texts here and there more than what I was getting. I was getting a little more conversation than what I was getting until the switch finally hit. And now we talk every 2 to 3 days. It's relatively new, but we've talked more in the last month and a half than we've talked in the last 8-9 years. Like it's crazy, but that it took me kind of, you know what? I'm not gonna treat him how he treated me.
One of the things I did was I had to stop trying to remind my dad of all the things he did do. I had to let it go.
Yeah, truly.
Like I had to let it go. I had to stop being the police of his past. Like I just had to say, I'm done. And if we talk about sports, if we talk about politics, like when the riot thing happened, he called me, and I was in Walmart. And I'm in Walmart all loud. You know, I don't have no inside voice.
There is no volume control.
I think it's something wrong with my ears. Like, I don't know. But I was
honey, quiet down.
I was like, she would have been embarrassed too, because I was like, Dad, you see all them white folks up in there?
No filter.
And he like, he loud too. So we on the phone and we both talking like we can't hear each other. And I'm like, that was the point. That was it for the day. He just wanted to call me and say he saw them white folks storming the Capitol.
Now
that was our engagement.
Now,
and I may not hear from him for 2 weeks, but at least we talked.
That was quality engagement for them. That's how they talk. And he has four other siblings that his father really doesn't talk to, but he had called down here. Now a couple of them live up there where he at.
Right.
He called down here. He asked, you talk to Dad? No. Well, you're only 15 minutes from, why not? Meanwhile, we 13 hours, but he had called. So it's funny how God revitalizes and pours and remolds and puts back together certain relationships that you think are
Like I think one of
not
my gifts is
repairable.
just to always think positive, right? Like I think it's a gift of mine, and I'm using that. I'm walking in that gift now, right? Like, and that's another thing. Like when guys get together and dads get together to collaborate, we start understanding what our gifts are. You know, it's like bringing together the meeting of the minds, and you start thinking, man, I'm really good at that. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with someone validating you. It just has everything to do with how you show up. And there's a lot of healing in groups and numbers of people who start to do the same thing in terms of saying, look, my mission in life is to make sure my kids are good. And she knows, you know, like I had already had in my mind like work ethic and things like that. What I didn't have is the emotional stuff. And so now I can kind of live in both spaces. I can go to work and I'm texting the kids on the little Google chat like, hey, y'all, I just want y'all to let y'all know I love you. You know, because I don't let the whole day go by now. Sometimes, but most days I'm good at like catching it. Like I need to say something to them. I need to check in with them. I'm always trying to listen to something that helps me stay on point. And so that's really how the organization functions, and we're growing. We're just looking to collaborate with dads, other organizations, sell some T-shirts, you know. But
So I got one last question.
yes, sir.
Me, Maurice. As a father, your kids might see this 20 years from now.
Oh man.
What is something you want to tell them or leave with them?
Something I want to leave with them is, I would say, be proud of your name. Your first name was given to you. Your last name is the legacy that we're trying to leave for generations to come. So just be proud of your name. Your name means something, and you never have to worry about that being taken from you. And so as long as you walk in that, you'll always have doors opening for you. And be strong and courageous.
Oh. 20 years from now, what would I want them to know? Never doubt who you are. Never doubt who you are. Walk proud and strong in who you are. Walk with your head up and your chest out. Not cocky, but humbly. Know who you are. Embrace who you are. Every flaw, every imperfection, embrace it. Love it. It is who you are. It's what makes you who you are. It's what makes you unique. Every feature, every imperfection, it's like our thumbprint. Nobody else has it. Only us. God gave it to only us. So be the dopest version of you, because nobody can do it like you. God didn't make them to be and do it like you. So do you the best you know how. Embrace every part of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
So good.
Well, you know, it's a lot of times, like I'm a middle child, but I'm
He's the boldest.
yeah,
He's the
like
middle
I'm,
oldest child.
you know, like my siblings will look to me, right?
Right.
And I feel like almost obligated to be the one saying, Dad, why you? But then I had to realize, like, that's not my role. You know, like my role is to, like, in your such situation, my father's sick too, but in your situation is to try to get as much as you can done while this person's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Because if you know this person is terminal, you need them to get their wishes on the table, all of the things that you can't go back and fix all of the financial problems.
No.
You probably got your own, you know, like you trying to build your own family. So you can't focus on any of that stuff. All you can do is try to set things in order and say, look, here's what's what. And I just think that your heart is like, family is the place where everything gets wrapped up. Your heart, your emotions, your judgments, everything.
Yeah.
But I think you are doing the right thing, but you know, just learn how to, you know, sometimes it's holding your peace. Like, you know what?
It's hard.
I'm just gonna hold my
Did
peace.
she leave quickly?
You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think that's it's a painful thing because you kind of get ready to grieve. You know, like my father has
Okay, I just
he has
texted
lung
her.
issues
Okay.
and just from smoking all those years.
Yeah.
And you know, he told me like, you know, I ain't got that much longer. You know, based on what the doctors are saying.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the same boat, but I know like I'm not going to try to fix all of this stuff in the last years of his life. You know, I'm just going to try to be a son and be responsible for his affairs. You know, if you're a power of attorney. But I think your gift will, I'm telling you, like, just try it. Just try it. Just pray about it.
Don't look at me.
Pray about it. I mean, you got it. I mean, it's there. You know, God gives us everything we need,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes we kind of, I don't know if it's for that.
I mean, I feel like it's not ironic. My pastor literally said that to me on Sunday. He literally just said, and I know you don't know my pastor, you weren't there, you was nowhere near the room, like, it won't on live stream or none of that, so I can't, you know, ignore the fact that, you know, you had no idea.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why my pastor said it, you know.
Yeah.
He just, so.
The spirit is moving, man. Yeah.
Don't look at
He like on the inside, though, he like, aha!
But
Listen, we went somewhere and this prophet told me, she was like, I need you to listen to this man because he not gonna steer you wrong. Honey, he been, anytime I listen.
that's our man right there. Listen, what the prophet say? See what I'm saying?
What the prophet say?
You can't go against pride.
You can't go. The prophet said it.
That's the only one I've